Yes, and hello once again. I'm Max Ratt, and welcome to the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. Yeah, so it's June 16th, and it's Father's Day this morning, Sunday morning here. A lot of times I do the shows at night, but I don't know. I was working through the night more or less, pre-producing the show together, and so here it is. It's Happy Father's Day. I'm live from the Rat Hole here in New York City. And I got a show for you too. So today's show is going to be, the topic of the show is going to be the Mapping the Human Brain Initiative. And then the subtitle will be Eugenics in Disguise. And I've been doing my usual investigation research on this. Obama mentioned he's bragging about how we're embarking on this new initiative called the Human Brain Mapping Initiative, and so I was like, all right, let me take a look at this and see what's going on here. And once again, it ends up in a rather disturbing and rather just disgusting result. The funny thing is that, I'm not even, you would think that I might even be looking for an ugly result or a depressing point of view, but frankly, I wish I could find something that didn't end up in this ugly place. Having said that, let's just start the show and we'll get it going, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But the word, I used the word eugenics, and why don't I just read a quick definition of it? So just for anybody who's not as familiar with that word or what's going on with what is eugenics, I'm just going to go right to Wikipedia. Let me read the first paragraph or two, and then we're going to move on with the show. Eugenics is the biosocial movement which advocates practices to improve the genetic composition of a population, usually a human population. Thanks. It is a social philosophy advocating the improvement of human hereditary traits through the promotion of higher reproduction of more desired people and traits and reduced reproduction of less desired people and traits. So in other words, and who decides who the more desirable people with the more desirable traits? I'm sure you're going to find out about that too, but for anybody who's familiar with Nazi Germany, that is the whole Hitlerian Third Reich government, or whatever you want to call it, movement, if you want to call that, was all about this practice of eugenics, which frankly originated in the United States and not in Nazi Germany. And Nazi Germany just brought it to another level, I would say. We're going to go through a little bit of the history about that, but we're also going to tie it directly into this Human Brain Mapping Initiative. Sit back and enjoy and listen carefully, and you're going to hear exactly what's going on with that here on the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. So welcome aboard. Thanks for coming aboard. I'm going to start the show. Here we go.
Every dollar we invested to map the human genome returned $140 to our economy. Every dollar. Today, our scientists are mapping the human brain.
Yeah, that was Obama. That was from the Obama State of the Union address in 2013 this year. So he's bragging about that. Today we're mapping the human brain. Let's go from there.
But tonight, we shall hurl the gauntlet of science into the frightful face of death itself. Tonight, we shall ascend into the heavens. We shall mock the earthquake. We shall command the thunders and penetrate into the very womb of impervious nature herself.
Brain room. Come in, motor function 12. Check. His leg itches. Scratch the left leg. The leg has been scratched.
There's a joke coming in on 4-1.
Prepare response for incoming joke.
Joke response 18.2.
Smile, please.
He's smiling.
Brain to stomach, brain to stomach.
Don't like the brain. Over.
Food coming down.
What kind?
Fettuccine.
Yep, that's the brain room, and let me keep it going here.
But I just want to make it clear for everybody that there is some of this that's going to go straight over your head, and our job is to make sure that we pluck it down from the air and bring it down into your lap, if at all possible.
Okay, yeah, and that's what they're telling us already. Is like, some of it you're not going to understand because it's so intricate. It's about the brain, and then again, that's how they disguise things for you, so they can cram more Nazi eugenics down your throat. He's a rather long clip, but I thought it was a very important clip, so I thought I'd just play it through and move on from there. This is Dr. Russell Blaylock. He's a retired but very prominent neurosurgeon, very highly acclaimed, and he's going to tell you about eugenics and some of its origins, and we're going to go from there.
For instance, in 1928 at Caltech, they had a biology division. That's where Rockefeller first was funneling his money to create this science of man idea. And it was focused on eugenics, according to Dr. May. And she said that one of the professors there, Ezra Gosney, was in fact a leader in the eugenic movement. He was in the American Eugenics Society, the American Social Hygiene Society, Eugenics Research Association, and the Human Betterment Society, which was heavily funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. And they mailed out tens of thousands of brochures to doctors, teachers, social workers, physicians, university publishers, all these different organizations to make sure that these ideas were in the minds of the American public and acceptable. And just to give you an idea of one of the things that this Dr. Gosney wrote in Scientific American in 1934, he was urging his readers to embrace Adolf Lorenz, professor of sociology in Vienna, with the idea that sterilization of the unfit would eventually reach all civilized countries as a means, quote, of getting rid of the scum of humanity. So this was a person who was in the Rockefeller Foundation. He was appointed as a professor of this new biology program, molecular biology program at Caltech, and he had a tremendous influence in training of professors that were teaching other biologists and eventually physicians as well. And just to give you some of the quotes she gives in the book to show you that this is not just something I'm pulling out of thin air. In her book, she says in 1920s, Rockefeller conceived the idea of the science of man agenda. And she says, quote, the motivation behind the enormous investment was to develop human sciences as a comprehensive and applied framework of social control grounded in natural, medical, and social sciences. Its aim was toward human engineering. The conjunction of cognitive and social goals had a strong historical connection to eugenics. So, you can't make it any plainer. There's just quote after quote through the book in which she keeps saying over and over, his entire plan for this funding was not benevolent. It was to control human beings in the way they would think, to control human thought, and to get rid of people that he considered undesirable. Well, he had all the money at his disposal from Carnegie Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Laura Spelman Rockefeller Memorial, the Ford Foundation. So he had a massive amount of foundation money. In addition, as being advisors to the federal government, all of the money that the government was spending in these areas, which was much greater than even the foundations, was controlled by the foundations itself. So eventually today, they have the wealth of the entire world at their disposal to carry out these programs.
There you go, and let me make this clear. This is this is like he said. You couldn't make it any plainer. Okay, it's plain to see. When I started looking into this, I was like, wow, it's just every little nuance and subtlety of every word out of these people's mouth, and the way it all connects together is absolutely mind-boggling. And And you're going to see as well. I'm going to make that case for you today. But this is really. I mean, and so this. So that was he was talking about 1920 when they were doing that, and they started a lot of this stuff even right at the turn of the century. But this is still going on today. Hook, line, and sinker, full throttle, full steam ahead, and it's the same people and the same techniques or the same MOs, modus operandi, for these people. It's just ridiculous, okay? And and I'm sorry, but this is an affront to human equality everywhere, okay? And the same criminal murderers are still behind it. Let's just let's keep it going from there. But I couldn't be more sincere and heart and make this more heartfelt or try to implore upon you like what I'm saying is that this is disgusting and ridiculous. Okay, and again they're calling it the Human Brain Mapping Initiative, and that gets all the and gets every and people hear slick Rick Obama like smoothing it out to you, and they get mesmerized by it, I guess. I don't know how after all the lies that we've heard from him, and I'm not just picking on him. Like I said, I mean he's just a mouthpiece, the same as everybody. But he happens to be a certain packaging that's for whatever reason, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, people seem to gobble up or whatever. That's a whole nother show, I guess. So and then they just put through this garbage about the you're like, oh, Rex, you don't think human brain mapping is or no learning more about the human brain? And I'm not trying to argue against broadening your horizons and learning about new things and learning more about the human brain. Of course, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, and you might arguably it is a good thing. Okay, but that's not what this is for, and that's not what's going on here. So that's not the argument. Okay, period. And let's just keep it going from here. So there's now you're gonna be like, well, what does that have to do with brain mapping? I'm like, well, I'm gonna tie that in for you. So stay tuned. Here we go.
Today, I'd like to talk about heritability. That is to say, about how genes influence human characteristics. Scientists have long debated the question of how much we are influenced by our genes and how much by our environment. But that debate is now approaching a consensus. Virtually all scientists now agree that genes...
Okay, catch that now. A consensus and virtually all the scientists agree. That's not science. Jerk off, okay? It's not science. Just because, like, oh, I got 10 people to, they all said there was, they all agree with me. It's not science. Science is when you prove something with a method, okay? With a scientific method where you're using double-blind, controls and things like that. But and that's not so. Just because you found 10 people or you bribed 10 people with your deeper than deep pockets, okay? That doesn't mean that it's science, okay? At all, okay? So but that's the way, and that's the way that they're gonna package it for you all the goddamn time, okay? Because people again are brain dead and they're not paying attention. They don't realize what, and they just want to believe this garbage so bad so they can go back to playing around with their iPhones and watching the Kardashians, So if you don't have time for this to focus on things, then that's fine too. But again, this guy's telling you some crap, okay? And this is all based in bigotry and eugenics, okay? Let's keep it going from there. You know what? I'll start him over and we'll keep it going from there.
Today, I'd like to talk about heritability. That is to say, about how genes influence human characteristics. Scientists have long debated the question of how much we are influenced by our genes and how much by our environment. But that debate is now approaching a consensus. Virtually all scientists now agree that genes play an important role in the development not just of physical traits, but even human personality. Most people have never doubted that physical traits, like hair and eye color or height, are largely inherited.
Okay, so genes are now they're going to tell you that your personality is genetic, okay, and that just and then he goes height, eye color, and hair, which is like that's relevant to blonde hair, blue eyes, not Aryan, okay, but that's what everybody thinks of when they think of height and hair color. I mean eye color and hair color. But genes play a part in your personality. So now that if we can establish that you have the genes of a criminal or you have the genes of an undesirable, then we're gonna try to prevent you from ever being born. Okay, and that's what eugenics is all about. Again, that hasn't been tied into the brain thing, but believe me, I got plenty of brains tie-ins here too. Let's carry on with the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. Here we go.
You are viewing Helmholtz-Watson's film, Planned Perfection. Each newly produced infant is given 6 full years of nightly hypnopedic sleep-teach lectures to reinforce class acceptance conditioning. Later, in central conditioning centers like this, each child receives
class acceptance conditioning. And that's from Brave New World. I suggest adults might want to read it to learn more about what the plans for the future were written by Aldous Huxley, whose brother was Julian Huxley, who is the head of or founder of UNESCO, which is United Nations based group. And of course, United Nations is created and run by Rockefeller, and so they're going to, and so on Brave New World, they're going to say that you're going to be conditioned into accepting your class status, okay, or how you've been engineered genetically to accept your class status, along with your psychological conditioning. Let me play that clip for you again, and we'll start over.
You are viewing Helmholtz-Watson's film, Planned Perfection. Each newly produced infant is given 6 full years of nightly hypnopedic sleep-teach lectures to reinforce class acceptance conditioning. Later, in central conditioning centers like this, each child receives daily happiness reinforcement drills, as well as prescribed courses in erotic play, death acceptance training, full consumption practice, and nature nausea games. Then, upon reaching computolescence after 6 more years in a final conditioning school, each happy, healthy individual will go forth to take up his or her predestined place in the greater society, dedicated to ensuring the continuing perfection of community, identity, stability.
There you go. You're going to be conditioned for nature nausea. In other words, you don't want, because nature should be nauseate you, because they want you on chemicals and science and in a scientific dictatorship, if you will. And there's all kinds of proof of what that's going on too, and this is all going to tie in together because it's science, and everybody's like, oh, it's science, shut up, it's science, and me and these 10 jerk off people here who claim to be scientists all agree. Well, agree on what? Okay, and what that shouldn't matter if a million people agree. Okay, the person who has the scientific method of proof is a person that I'm interested in hearing from. Okay, but these people are like, no, we don't have that. We just have a bunch of jerk offs who got whores who get paid to tell you that we all agree. Oh, thanks.
Each of us is genetically designed to fit perfectly into our place in society.
We're genetically designed to fit into our place in society. There you go.
As select alphas, conditioned to believe without knowing and to know without believing, you have been chosen to view the surrogate revelations and synthetic mysteries upon which all perfect and placebo belief is founded.
Okay, you're, what did you say about believe?
As select alphas, conditioned to believe without knowing and to know without believing.
Conditioned to believe without knowing and know without believing. As select alphas, okay, so again, in Brave New World, there, the alphas, betas, gammas, and deltas, and epsilons, and you are genetically, created into those categories, and then you'll be subsequently engineered and conditioned to accept into your role as whatever that role genetically created for you. And that you might have thought that sounded crazy a bunch of years ago, but all of a sudden, this is what they're doing clearly and obviously, okay, and overtly, and we're going to keep going on that and lay it all out for you in this show. Here we go.
At the heart of the project are advanced scanning techniques, which scientists say enable them to see babies' brains at a level of detail that was simply not possible before.
Okay, so they're going to start scanning babies' brains while they're during pregnancy. So then, and again, so if and they're going to tell you, oh yeah, you know what, your kid, I'm sorry, your kid's brain is subpar, and we have the traits. That's we have the we can read the genetic traits through the scan that he's going to be he's undesirable for whatever reason. So or she's undesirable for a reason. So you're going to have to get a forced abortion. Sorry. Okay, and here we go. Science! That's how that works. Keep it going.
It's very important to be able to scan babies before they're born, because if we do that, we can capture this very, very important period of rapid brain development when an awful lot is changing inside the brain.
Right, it's very important to scan babies before they're born. There you go, and that's just what I was just telling you. We got to do that before. So you make sure that you don't have an undesirable baby, and that we don't need those around here. Okay, any of those undesirable traits like maybe brown skin or something like that. That's very undesirable. Okay, according to the Nazi eugenics crowd. And these people, people talk about KKK. I mean, these people make the KKK look like a stroll down on the yellow brick road or something like that. This is not even in the same, not even near the same league. This is an organized, extraordinarily powerful and funded and organized group of outright eugenicists, murdering criminals who are cramming all this stuff right down our throat and right in front of your fucking face, okay? And well, you know what? I'm going on and on because it's like the stuff, the amount of stuff I uncover with this show is crazy. So let's just, I'll just keep it going. Here we go.
What a profound and reverent night is this. With such a specimen for a body, all we need now is an equally magnificent brain.
Yeah, that was from Young Frankenstein, because they talked about a lot about brains in that movie. So there's a lot of great clips from the Mel Brooks movie Young Frankenstein, but that was Gene Wilder, and I'm going to keep playing them because it's uncanny how a lot of that stuff tied into this too.
I will begin our discussion of mind this morning by considering learning and memory, two of the most magical properties of mind, because they're central to our existence. They make us who we are.
Who we are. That was Dr. Eric Kandel. He's a top guy at Columbia University. Again, a lot of this stuff's come out of there. It comes out of all these very high-level schools, and they all have the same liar people who don't even sound like they know anything about science at all. They're just propaganda spewers. But anyway, that's who we are, man. And let's keep. So this is a little bit of a short "Who We Are" segment. I mean, I don't know why that's always the big meme. It's like, I guess people love when you say, "Oh, that's who we are." Yeah, we're Americans. That's how we do things. That's what we roll. Because I guess that makes you feel like you're part of the group, okay? And why would you want to be part of this group of these jerk offs? I don't know, but that's what's who we are, man. We're all together. We're all together on this.
I will begin our discussion of mind this morning by considering learning and memory, two of the most magical properties of mind, because they're central to our existence. They make us who we are.
Does the brain's wiring really make us who we are?
That's what the American story is about. That's who we are. That's why this brain initiative is so important. And if we keep taking bold steps like the one we're talking about to learn about the brain, then I'm confident America will continue to lead the world in the next frontiers of human understanding.
Right, that's who we are. We're a bunch of according to these people, it's who we are is a bunch of bigoted, racist, eugenicists, baby killing, eugenicist murderers, if you ask me. But do you want to tie me into, like, oh, you did an abortion thing? Not really, but there's. I'm not going to go into open that can of worms, but wanting to exterminate populations of people on based on their racial traits is not, I mean, if you think that that's okay, then God bless you. But let me take a second to say something to my Jewish people out there. And not to say that eugenics has anything to, is by any means a Jewish thing, but there are plenty of Jewish people mixed into this mix of eugenicists, and I mean, was Nazi Germany that long ago that you don't, like you can't see like that, like and that I would think, I mean, I guess I think I'm wrong at this point, but I would think that that Jewish people, after having been through something like being persecuted for their you'll hear Jewish people, and I am, and I was raised Jewish also, so I don't want to hear any crap about me being anti-Semitic or anything like that, because I'm certainly not, and I certainly have a lot of love for some Jewish people who were the absolutely sweetest, nicest people to me in my whole life ever. But you would think that people would have a little bit of a sensitivity towards whenever you heard people going there about, like, oh, we have to exterminate you because you're Jewish or because of racial traits and things like that. But I guess you guys are a bunch of, the Jewish people are not only ignoring it, but like participating, straight up and down participating along with people who are out, and not only that, but have long histories of this eugenics, racist, murdering garbage. Okay, I mean, like, it's certainly not even any question about, like, the past and the tendencies of these people, and you guys are going around along with it, like, and sometimes even spearheading the attack. And all I could say is that one day you're gonna have to come clean with the guy upstairs, and I doubt I got a feeling he's going to be shaking his head, like, I'm not sure what the hell you were thinking, but there's always time to change your wicked ways, like, who said, was that Santana? You got to change your evil ways, and there's always time for that, folks. Keep it going. So that's who we are, man, who we are.
The brain makes us who we are. It produces every emotional and intellectual act. The brain determines our moods. It endows us with the capability for great joy and terrible misery.
Right, that's some sort of weird propaganda from this guy Eric Kandel. Again, look him up. He's a top dog in memory and brain studies or something at Columbia, and I'm unimpressed with him, frankly. Okay, keep it going.
If we look at the base of a brain which has just been removed from the skull, there's very little of the midbrain that we can actually see. Yet, as I demonstrated in my lecture last week, if the under aspects of the temporal lobes are gently pulled apart, the upper portion of the stem of the brain can be seen. The so-called brain stem consists of the midbrain, a rounded protrusion called the pons, and a stalk tapering downwards called the medulla oblongata, which passes out of the skull through the foramen magnum and becomes, of course, the spinal cord. Are there any questions before we proceed?
I have one question, Dr. Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
I beg your pardon?
My name, it's pronounced Frankenstein.
Like that clip. Keep it going.
You still haven't unlocked the mystery of the 3 pounds of matter that sits between our ears.
Matter, like I'm not sure what he says it like again, you know, there's always this underlying thread of that humans are trash, and you know, this 3 pounds of matter, you know, that's like that's how Obama describes your brain now. Keep it going.
Would you read that back to me? I'm afraid that might make me sound pompous to your readers.
My brilliant research in brain transplantation is unsurpassed and will probably make my name live beyond eternity.
No, that's all right. Take out the probably. It just makes me sound wishy-washy.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Keep it going. Now, well, I'm going to talk to you about this after the clip.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Yes?
Isn't it true that Darwin preserved a piece of vermicelli in a glass case until by some extraordinary means it actually began to move with a voluntary motion?
Are you speaking of the worm or the spaghetti?
Why, the worm, sir.
Yes, it seems to me I did read something of that incident when I was a student, but you have to remember that a worm, with very few exceptions, is not a human being.
Right, and so they're talking on Young Frankenstein. They're talking about this worm that, and Darwin it was Erasmus Darwin, who was the father of Charles Darwin, who was also very deep into genetics, and he was a physician himself, supposedly, or whatever. But so I'm like, well, you know, it never really occurred to me, like, I didn't really understand what a worm had to do with this brain thing, and then they tied Darwin into it too, who is arguably his theories of evolution. I know we're going to get a lot of people crying about this one, but that's none of that. That's all along the same lines as, you know, as with eugenics as well, with his survival of the fittest theories, and we evolved from apes, and the problem with that is that if we evolved from apes, then how come there's still apes? Okay, why did they seem their evolution stop and we continued forward? That's again, frankly, to tie in that brown people and black people are going to resemble apes more, so that's why the white people are smarter, and they're the ones who've evolved, really. That's you want to argue with me about that, fine, but believe me, that's what they're trying to do. That's what you've been led to believe, subliminally or consciously, however you want to look at it. So anyway, so we're back to this worm thing, and so then right away, the leading brain mapping guy who's an Asian guy, I guess he's maybe he's Korean, whatever. He's an Asian-looking guy. He's from MIT. His name is Sebastian Sung, and he might be Chinese. I don't know. They did all these brain people at MIT and Columbia and everything are all did these experiments with these worms called C. elegans. Okay, and we're going to go from there. So so now we got Darwin tied into the worms, and now we're gonna have these all these like so-called brains experts, which and I question that deeply, okay. But they're going to be talking about worms now, okay. This worm studies, okay. And on one hand, it's going to be like, oh yeah, we already made a connectome, which is what he calls it, which is a brain map of the C. elegans, which is a worm. But then they're going to tell you in the same goddamn interviews or whatever you want to call them, or debates, that none of that stuff has any, they don't even know how it works at all anyway. Okay, so I'm not sure what they studied or what kind of, you'll see. But you know what, talk is cheap. Let's keep it going.
Well, so far, only one connectome is known, that of this tiny worm. Its modest nervous system consists of just 300 neurons. And in the 1970s and 80s, a team of scientists mapped all 7,000 connections between the neurons. In this diagram, every node is a neuron and every line is a connection. This is the connectome of the worm C. elegans.
This is the connectome of the word. So they claim to have already mapped a connectome, that was what he calls it, of the worm C. elegans. Keep it going.
I think a great place to start would be this worm, C. elegans. People who are not neuroscientists may not be intimately familiar with this vinegar worm, but this is this animal whose every little neuron has been parsed out and mapped out, and huge amounts of study has been done in it. And we have a connectome. We've had it for a while, and yet we still don't really understand this worm very well. So if the connectome is such a Rosetta Stone, then why don't we understand the worm?
Moving on.
I think a great place to start would be this worm, C. elegans. People who are not neuroscientists may not be intimately familiar with this vinegar worm, but this is this animal whose every little neuron...
Okay, just played down. Sorry about that. If I keep it going.
Science! From my conversations with the C. elegans community, everyone who does work on the nervous system does rely heavily on the C. elegans connectome. So there's no doubt in my mind that it's useful.
So I'm glad that Sebastian raised the fact that you can't record activity in the worm well.
Can't record activity in the worm well, and we don't know much about the worm.
From my conversations with the C. elegans community, everyone who does work on the nervous system does rely heavily on the C. elegans connectome. So there's no doubt in my mind that it's useful.
Okay, he's saying it's thrown out of my mind it's useful, but he said himself just a second before that we still don't understand the C. elegans worm connectome, and the other guy said this, and then the other guy, they're all in the same on the same stage together.
So I'm glad that Sebastian raised the fact that you can't record activity in the worm well.
Okay, so right, we can't record activity in the worm, but we have a connectome, and then he's like, yeah, but the connectome. So then Sebastian says, well, yeah, but the connectome's been very useful to us. I'm like, well, how's it useful if it doesn't work?
From my conversations with the C. elegans community, everyone who does work on the nervous system does rely heavily on the C. elegans connectome. So there's no doubt in my mind that it's useful.
All right, and again, this is not science. Again, he's like, well, this guy told me that it's useful, so I have no doubt. Or they rely heavily on the C. elegans connectome. But they just told you that they can't record any activity, and we don't understand it anyway, right? Or that's what they say. So I'm not sure. Again, it's all double talk. Okay, keep it going.
It has been very difficult to record the activity of C. elegans neurons. Almost impossible.
Why?
Just simple technical reasons. It turns out to be difficult. I mean, first of all, any kind of neurophysiology experiment, sticking an electrode inside a cell to record its activity is a virtuoso feat, as someone like Tony well knows. And it just turns out, happenstance, that it's easier to do that in a mouse or a monkey or even a human than it is to do that in C. elegans.
Okay, so now he's going to say, well, yes, the connectome doesn't work for the C. elegans, but don't worry, because we want to do it in humans and mice, and they're easier. Even though the C. elegans supposedly has 300 neurons, and the human brain has, according to the same people, tens of billions of neurons. So, but you know what though? But it's easier. It's easier in the mice and the humans. You know why? Because that's his job is to make up bullshit ass connectomes. Okay, so of course he's going to say that. Keep it going.
It's fair to say that our understanding of the worm has not been materially enhanced by having that connectome available to us.
Okay, right. So, yeah, right. So our understanding of the worm hasn't been enhanced by having it's fair to say, by having the connectome available to us. Isn't that beautiful?
We have figured it out. Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again.
And that's why every connectome is unique, even those of genetically identical twins. The connectome is where nature meets nurture.
Okay, so now we're gonna go with genetically identical twins. Where does twins come up all the time? With Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi doctor who did extensive experiments on twins. He was obsessed with twins. Okay, I watched the movie Boys from Brazil. It was about cloning children in Hitler's image. Okay, Joseph Mengele was the Nazi doctor. It's about twins. So now we're going to bring twins into it. Another, and then nature meets nurture. Okay, who coined the phrase "nature meets nurture"? That would be Francis Galton, who's Charles Darwin's cousin, who is also coined and is called the father of eugenics. Period. Okay, he's the originator of the word eugenics. If I'm correct, I believe I'm correct on that. He's also coined the phrase "nature meets nurture," all because these people always want you to believe everything's genetic is according to your genetics, because that propagates their intentions to exterminate people, or to say, yep, you got the wrong genes, and I know all about genes, you don't. The Rockefeller Foundation and University and in the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories, which we're going to get right into soon, both are credited with inventing or discovering DNA again. So they're going to start tying in all about hereditary traits, and there's even more and more and more. Let's just keep it going. Next, we're at Deconstruction Zone. Here we go.
Because if you look at a brain with your naked eye, you don't really see how complex it is. But when you use a microscope, finally the hidden complexity is revealed.
Oh, you see this? Really? Isn't this guy a great scientist? He's like, yeah, he's like, when you look at your brain with your eye, you won't see anything. But, when you find that microscope like I do, then finally it'll all come to you. But in the same breath, he'll tell you, like, we don't know shit about Shinola about even the little worm with 300 neurons, supposedly. Okay, even if that's even true. Okay, but he admits that we have 10 billion plus neurons in our brain, however he knows that number. But what he is saying is that it's billions of times more complex, okay, than the worm that they're admitting that they don't even know how that works yet, okay. So, but then he's like, wow, but we have microscopes now, man.
Because if you look at a brain with your naked eye, you don't really see how complex it is. But when you use a microscope, finally the hidden complexity is revealed.
Oh yeah, it's all you need is a microscope and everything. You'll know it. We know everything now, and we know everything, but we don't know anything. Admittedly, also.
And that's why every connectome is unique, even those of genetically identical twins. The connectome is where nature meets nurture.
There you go, and I played that one again for you. Again, Francis Galton, look it up. He's father of eugenics, Darwin's cousin. The whole family is top to bottom was a bunch of evil racist criminals. Okay, and he was one of the worst. He's definitely gone down in history as an evil person. Look that up too if you like.
Shut up already. It's science.
Okay, so now these geniuses are going to listen to this guy. Okay, this is the same guy. This is the guy, Sebastian Sung, who's considered, he's Mr. MIT. They never have anybody who's older anymore, because I just figure anybody who's gone through this garbage where, like, they're telling people to present fake science and bunk garbage, okay? I'm sure older people are just like, I've had enough of this, or start, when you get a little older, you start getting a little bit more close to the end, and you start saying, I'm getting closer to that discussion with the man upstairs, and I better start changing my ways before maybe it won't be too late or something like that, because they're all these like 30-year-old or 28-year-old whippersnappers who have no, and they just don't even present science. They just present they give them a little sexy one of those little microphone headsets, and they put them on TED Talk with all the hype and shit like that, and then they tell you a bunch of garbage. Okay, and speaking of garbage, listen to this. Okay, now this. You would think this is a joke, okay? But this is, okay, so this is the brain scientist. Listen to what he said. This is what he said, okay? He's at a Columbia University brain debate, okay? And we're going to get into that, but just listen. Here you go.
The Jennifer Aniston neuron was a famous neuron discovered in a human patient by Itzhak Fried, a
Okay, so the Jennifer Aniston neuron was discovered in a human patient. Okay, like, I mean, I'm not sure, is a mouse a patient now or something like that too? Again, I'm not sure, you know, these little slip-ups, okay, you could say, oh, well, Max, don't nitpick, whatever, but, well, just go listen to this moron, okay? And you tell me what, okay, the Jennifer Aniston neuron was this, and he's going to give a guy credit. Okay, like, again, you're like, oh, that's not serious. I'm like, then why is he naming the guy's name as credit, giving him credit? He's giving this guy credit for the discovery. The Jennifer Aniston neuron. Okay, I didn't make this stuff up. He said it. Listen, and what place does that have in an intellectual debate about anything? Okay, but listen, he's not even backing. I'm the one who's discrediting it, but he's presenting it as some sort of science. Listen.
The Jennifer Aniston neuron was a famous neuron discovered in a human patient by Itzhak Fried, a neurosurgeon, and he showed this person pictures, many different pictures of celebrities, places, landmarks, non-famous people, and so on, and he discovered one neuron that was activated only by pictures of Jennifer Aniston.
There you go, and he's credited with that discovery. Is he Jennifer? And so is that? So what are we supposed to think that? Is he implying that everybody has a Jennifer Aniston neuron? And you know, and like he showed him other pictures of famous people and non-famous people. That's all to play because everybody hears celebrity or famous to somebody, and they turn into brain dead mode, and like, oh, I like celebrities. I love Jennifer Aniston. Oh, she's hot. Oh, I used to have a crush on her or something. Okay, something stupid. All right, but this is a guy who's supposedly from MIT, brain mapping expert or something, and he's like, and why would he even bring that up to discredit himself in a discussion, in an intellectual discussion about brain mapping in a debate no less. Whatever. Okay, how about the next one? Listen to this one. This is in his TED talk. Here's some more very high quality information giving to you. I mean, I'm not sure. Okay, just listen.
How are the brains of men and women different? According to this self-help book, guys' brains are like waffles. They keep their lives compartmentalized in boxes. Girls' brains are like spaghetti. Everything in their life is connected to everything else.
And everybody's laughing like they're in on the joke, you know. Yeah, we're so intellectual and so, you know, and we're so smart. I don't even I'm like, what the fuck are you fucking talking about? Jerk off, okay? And you know, and you could, you know, have a, you know, what do you have a sense of humor, Max? I'm like, yeah, you know I do, okay? But I'm not sure what the hell this has supposed to have to do with brain mapping, okay? At all. Okay, and these TED Talks are only 15 minutes long. Okay, I don't know why he has time to but again, he's not calling it a joke. He's not saying I was just kidding. He's like presenting this in some weird twisted way that to make, you know, again, you know, it's the dumb, it's, you know, but and it's funny how like the people are sitting, he's dumbing it down for people, and people are laughing, like cackling out loud, we're laughing at everybody else. No, you're laughing. You're so stupid you are, or I am. Okay, because this, like, I don't know what the fuck it's supposed to mean again, and again I don't know what place it has in a talk about brain intelligent science and brain mapping. Okay, I mean, whatever that's, you know, I mean, that's, you know, like, can we get down to some business here before you start telling me about spaghetti and waffles and men and women like he's a stand-up comedian or something, you know, with bad writers. Keep it going.
How are the brains of men and women different? According to this self-help book, guys' brains are like waffles. They keep their lives compartmentalized in boxes. Girls' brains are like spaghetti. Everything in their life is connected to everything else. You guys are laughing, but you know, this book changed my life. But seriously, what's wrong with this? You already know enough to tell me. What's wrong with this statement? It doesn't matter whether you're a guy or girl. Everyone's brains are like spaghetti. Or maybe really, really fine capellini with branches.
Spaghetti capellini. What is this? Yeah, come on.
The Jennifer Aniston neuron was a famous neuron discovered in a human patient by Itzhak Fried, a neurosurgeon, and he showed this person pictures, many different pictures of celebrities, places, landmarks, non-famous people, and so on, and he discovered one neuron that was activated only by pictures of Jennifer Aniston.
Okay, so we got capellini, spaghetti, waffles, Jennifer Aniston, yeah, okay.
And we are recruiting a lot of very exciting young scientists who are bringing new techniques.
All right, so that was the guy that I'm going to get to that in a few. That was the president of the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories. And he's like, we're recruiting young scientists to they're bringing the new techniques. I'm like, wouldn't you want the old scientists to develop the techniques and then maybe teach them to the young new scientists? No, but where are these young people coming from with the new? Yeah, they got all the new techniques. And again, he kind of slides that past you. And then again, okay, you're going to start with me again. It's like, oh, well, what, young people can't come up with new techniques? I guess they can, but, in my lifetime, I've always learned from people who are older and wiser than me, okay? And I don't see anything wrong with that. And I don't know why, you would be bragging that we're recruiting young scientists who bring to them new techniques, okay? Recruiting young, and why is everything new all the time? Why isn't there anything that we, like an ancient civilization, when you talk about China or you talk about the Mesopotamia or whatever, you're talking about old civilizations and they pass along stuff that's been passed along through the ages, okay? And then to me, that's the stuff that's usually the most profound, not stuff that some kid came up with yesterday, and he's gonna, especially when it comes to things like this, okay? When it comes to like technology and learning and maybe something about computers or something, yeah, fine, okay? But we're not talking about something, the human body is not technology, is not our technology, and there's no reason why young people who are green and don't know anything should be the ones leading the way. It should be the wiser, established, or not because they're established, but the people who've learned. I didn't know shit when I was young, and I still don't know what I hope to know one day. But you get my drift on that. We're recruiting young scientists who are bringing new techniques.
And we are recruiting a lot of very exciting young scientists who are bringing new techniques.
Right, that's kind of admitting that we're not doing any serious science here. Okay, keep it going.
One of their most cherished dreams is to cheat death by that practice known as cryonics. If you pay $100,000, you can arrange to have your body frozen after death and stored in liquid nitrogen in one of these tanks in an Arizona warehouse, awaiting a future civilization that is advanced enough to resurrect you. Should we ridicule the modern seekers of immortality, calling them fools? Or will they someday chuckle over our graves? I don't know. I prefer to test their beliefs scientifically. I propose that we attempt to find a connectome of a frozen brain. We know that damage to the brain occurs after death and during freezing. The question is, has that damage erased the connectome? If it has, there is no way that any future civilization will be able to recover the memories of these frozen brains. Resurrection might succeed for the body, but not for the mind. On the other hand, if the connectome is still intact, we cannot ridicule the claims of cryonics so easily.
Again, what is this guy going into cryonics for, or cryogenics, if you will? Okay, there you go. And again, here's your tie-in. If it didn't come to you already, which I wouldn't doubt if it did. Who's the famous guy who's frozen right now? Would it be Walt Disney, folks? Okay, what's Walt Disney also famous for? Being a bigoted, racist, anti-Semite. That's been said, and I'll show it to you right here where it's been said.
Oh, hey, did they ever unfreeze Walt Disney? Unfortunately.
Welcome back, Mr. Disney.
Are the Jews gone yet?
No.
Put me back in.
There you go. We'll give it a
Walt
go.
Disney was an outspoken anti-Semite. So Disney, ABC, ESPN, Touchstone, these would all be things to avoid.
Okay, and again, when why this guy? What this guy is supposed to be talking about mapping the human brain connectome, if you will, and where how he got sidetracked into cryogenics and waffles and spaghetti and capellini and Jennifer Aniston neurons. Again, I mean, what the fuck? Okay, and then he's gonna reference and say, there are people out there who got frozen. Everybody knows it's Walt Disney. Okay, again, why are we glorifying people of that nature? It's old. It never stops. Okay, and again, I didn't say it. Okay, I'm not sure what cryogenics has to do with mapping the human brain, unless Walt Disney wrote in his will, by the way, get somebody on this, making sure when my brain's unfrozen, my connectome is going to be intact. Whatever, I guess. I mean, I'm not sure what else, what other kind of tie-in it is, but again, so now we got cryogenics, and then so now how about this one? Okay, here we go. Same guy, same TED Talk. Okay, and again, this guy's the spearheading the human brain mapping movement, or if you will, or science. Sebastian Sung. Here we go.
As we evolved from our ape-like ancestors on the African savanna.
There you go, our ape-like. Okay, as we evolved from our ape-like ancestors, okay, on the African savanna. Again, that's I know a lot of people take that for the gospel. Like, everybody knows that humans were first discovered. The first human fossils were in Africa. I think there's a very good explanation for that, because they're trying to make it sound like we all evolved from Africa, but then the white people evolved further and we left the black people behind. That's what that's all about, folks. Okay, there's no indication that that's true at all. Okay, that means that everybody started black and then they became white. You see, and that's because they're more evolved. Okay, that's what that's the indication of. Okay, and that's what that's being used for. Okay, morons. Okay, that's what it's for.
What distinguished us was our larger brains.
Oh, let me play that again. See, there you go. There you go. What distinguished us from the African-like, ape-like people in the African savanna was our larger brains, okay? Again, I don't know what kind of science that is, nor do I know what the hell that has to do with his brain mapping initiative, but it doesn't, because like I said, this is not about brain mapping. This is about some twisted, it's a disguise to slide into a whole straight up and down eugenics program and make it sound like bells and whistles and all glitzy and glamoury and sexy, if you will, for we're mapping the human brain, we're using technology. No, we're not. Okay, just listen to what he says again. Sebastian Sung on the African savanna.
As we evolved from our ape-like ancestors on the African savanna, what distinguished us was our larger brains.
There you go. Thanks, man. Yeah, thank you, doctor.
Science!
Hey. And this show ain't over, folks. It's starting to get ugly, but it's gonna get. Unfortunately, it's going to get a lot more ugly before it gets any better. But let's just clear. But I want to make it clear to you what's going on here. Keep it going, and and for Obama to be fronting for these groups again. I mean, and I'm going to put him in the same category as any Jewish person or anybody who believes in equality for humanity. Okay, or at all. Okay, why anybody would be caught near these people and putting out this garbage about human like our brains have evolved larger than ape-like Africans in savannah, or that there's a Jennifer Aniston neuron, or that there's men's brains are like waffles and women's brains are like spaghetti and capellini. I mean, this is what kind of garbage is this? Okay, this is not science, and this is not even intellectual. Okay, this is all to program your TV watching moronic ass, okay, into accepting and like the other clips I played before, is accepting your conditioning to accept your place in society. Okay, that's what it's for. That's what the Brave New World told that to you, your friggin' face. Okay, keep it going here.
Bottom level, orange beam, enjoy yourself. Bottom level, orange beam, enjoy yourself. What's happening here? This is a group of semi-moron epsilons that are going on a nature nausea reinforcement field trip to...
I can see that. I meant what's taking you so long.
Oh, right away, sir.
Some epsilon minus semi-morons. Okay? And they're going on a nature nausea conditioning field trip in Brave New World. There you go, and you're going to be bred to be like, sorry, you were bred to be a semi-moron epsilon, and you get a job to like elevator operator or some shit like that, or just stand and watch the paint dry or something. That's going to be your conditioned, and you're going to be conditioned to be nauseated by nature, and moving on. Max Ratt, Deconstruction Zone.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
You're putting me on.
No, it's pronounced Frankenstein.
Do you also say Froderick?
No, Frederick.
Well, why isn't it Froderick Frankenstein?
It isn't, it's Frederick Frankenstein.
I see.
You must be Igor.
No, it's pronounced Igor.
But they told me it was Igor.
Well, they were wrong then, weren't they?
You were sent by Herr Falkstein, weren't you?
Yes. My grandfather used to work for your grandfather.
How nice.
Of course, the rates have gone up.
Of course.
Of course they have.
It's going to require us as a country to embody and embrace that spirit of discovery that is what made America America.
Yeah, we're going to have to embody and embrace that spirit of discovery that what's made America America. Yeah, that was so nicely put. Yeah, which is like and what he really means is we're going to cram eugenics down your throat and start exterminating undesirables. Okay, that's really what that means. Okay, but thanks, Slick Willie.
Well, as I said, they turned over the domestic behavioral sciences to the Ford Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation and its Carnegie Corporate Foundation turned their attention to the international arena to promote this social engineering, what Rockefeller in 1920 coined the science of man. Basically, it was eugenics because he was funding the majority of the eugenic organizations in the world in the 1910-1920 period. Well, the Ford Foundation essentially is controlled by the Rockefeller Foundation. Virtually all the major foundations are controlled by the Rockefeller Foundation. The way they did that is they had their people put in as trustees of these other foundations, and eventually they took over control. So by interlocking most of the major foundations, now the Bill Gates Foundation, is directly and indirectly controlled by the Rockefeller Foundation.
Right, so you got the Ford Foundation, the Gates Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, all controlled through the Rockefeller Foundation, and the Rockefeller Foundation is outright and explicitly involved with eugenics, okay, and they always have and they always will be, okay, and if you listen to a couple of the previous shows, you'll hear David Rockefeller talking about depopulation and population control, and we need to exterminate 1 billion people, and Bill Gates talking about exterminating 1 million people, talking about eugenics, and then this thing comes up again. So now the Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, and Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, and the Carnegie Foundation. Okay, now you're going to hear the same people who are involved in this whole thing, at the highest levels, are all going to start thanking. Oh, I want to thank the Rockefeller Foundation. I want to. I'm a big supporter of this of Carnegie. You'll see. I'm gonna lay it all out for you. Keep it going.
In the words of Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, official deliverer of the opinion of the United States Supreme Court in the case of Buck v. Bell, it is better for all of the world if instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime, or to let them starve for their imbecility, society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind. 3 generations of imbeciles are enough.
Oliver Wendell Holmes, a Supreme Court justice, said that we have to stop people who are unfit to live, because we're going to end up having to execute them for their crimes anyway, he said. So we might as well just stop them from being born first. It'll save us all a lot of trouble. Thank you, Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes. That's called eugenics again, folks. Keep it going.
John D. Rockefeller and his son founded the Rockefeller Foundation in 1913. They funded the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory in the early 1900s, which housed the Eugenics Record Office in America and was the main American institution funding research into eugenics, the master race ideology that certain humans are inherently superior due to their genetics.
There you go. So now we're going to go into this Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories, okay? I'm actually from Long Island. I remember my parents used to take us down to it's a very pretty little town on the North Shore of Long Island called Cold Spring Harbor, and they used to have a whaling museum there. I remember going to that. It was like a little marine type setup over there on the water. It was beautiful, and they've been there since 1910. Okay, or before 1901, Cold Spring Harbor, and they were the offices of the Eugenics Record Office, okay, which is they called it, that was the name on the door. That was at the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory. The Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory is still there today, okay, and they're the ones spearheading this whole brain mapping initiative, okay. So there's your tie-in right there, okay. The Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory was the Eugenics Laboratory of since for 100 goddamn years, and they're still doing that. But now we're like, oh, we just forgot about all that. Nah, don't worry about it. Yeah, it's not eugenics anymore. We changed that. Just like every. Yeah, we just changed it. It's Orwellian. It used to be, oh, it's eugenics. No, now it's for your health and your well-being. And we're just, this is not eugenics anymore. Who told you that? Why? Why? Because we're sitting in the same spot for 100 years, and everybody, and you're gonna see that nothing's changed. That's for sure. Nothing's changed. Okay, and you don't believe me? Let's keep it going. So Obama calls for the genome.
So Dr. Collins helped lead that genome effort. And that's why we thought it was appropriate to have him here to announce the next great American project, and that's what we're calling the Brain Initiative.
Okay, Dr. Francis Collins, the Brain Initiative, okay. So then I take a look, I'm like, let me Google search Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories, okay, the original eugenics office for the entire original eugenics headquarters, if you will, and it's always been that. And so I'm like, so then Obama's like, well, we got Dr. Collins over here. He was doing our he spearheaded our genome human, which is again genome, genes, genetics. Okay, he already did that, and then now he's doing our brain initiative. And he's the top dog of the Brain Initiative. So then I look on then I find this little promotional video from Cold Spring Harbor, and guess who is like the star of the video? Oh, Dr. Francis Collins. Okay, good for you, my man. So he works at the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories. Okay, there we go.
Cold Spring Harbor has sort of placed themselves in the center of both great science and great education.
Right, they place themselves in the center of great science, yeah, the great eugenic science, okay, and that was him, that was Francis Collins, the on the Cold Spring Harbor promotional video where he's like blowing the, what a great, wow, this is the greatest place ever, Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories, okay, yeah, don't worry about that, it's a eugenics laboratory, we called it that, straight up and down, but keep it going, this stuff this is endless, it's ridiculous, okay, keep it going.
Cold Spring Harbor, New York, 1910. Charles B. Davenport, along with Harry H. Laughlin, both biologists and members of the American Breeders Association, found the Eugenics Record Office with financial help from the Carnegie Institution. The ERO would be the headquarters of eugenic research in the United States for the next 34 years.
Okay, and admittedly, the headquarters of the eugenics operation for the next 34 years, but believe me, it's been 100 years, okay? That's because in 1944 they took the eugenics sign off the door because it got, it's the most, it's not cool. It's beyond not cool. And not cool is too nice a way to put it, okay? Now, here's this guy Tony Mosh Spider Pit or whatever his name is. He was in the debate, the Columbia University debate with this who was even though he was supposedly debating Sebastian Sung, the brain mapping guy from MIT. He's really on his side, but anyway, so Tony gives a shout out to Cold Spring Harbor too. So now it's Dr. Collins and Dr. Tony or whatever his name is. He's like, yeah, I want to give a shout out to Cold Spring Harbor Labs too, the eugenics laboratory.
So there are some who argue you can do a very crude connectome just at the level of millimeters of tissue. Others, there's a project at Cold Spring Harbor which is basically 50 micron chunks of tissue.
Right, he's Cold Spring Harboring us. Now they have with the Columbia University professor guy who was introduced the whole debate at Columbia for the mapping the human brain initiative. Well, what did he have to say?
So about a decade ago, in 2002, a cancer researcher named Yuri Lezebnik, who was at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, still there, published a little commentary in an issue of Cell called Can a Biologist Fix a Radio?
Okay, so there's a little shout out for Dr. Yuri, whatever his name, from Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories. He's still over there. How you doing, Doc? He's still over there. Just wishing him well. Keep it going.
All of that is the charge to this group, which is going to be co-led by Corey Bargman from Rockefeller University and Bill Newsom from Stanford. And they're going to guide us. And a lot of what NIH does going forward will be very much dependent upon what this group comes up with.
Okay, so Rockefeller University is going to guide, that's Collins again, who is the head of the Brain Mapping Initiative, okay? He's like Rockefeller University is going to guide us, in other words, tell us what to do, kind of like when I played a couple of shows back with Hillary Clinton, who said, the CFR tells me what to do, and he's like, well, the Rockefeller University CFR is created by Rockefeller too, and now Dr. Collins, the head of the Brain Mapping Initiative, is going to tell you to your face that we are being told what to do, or guided, if you will. He's like, we have to wait. He didn't say it was more than guided. He said we have to wait until they tell us what to do. Okay, because we don't. He's so yeah, we're going to wait for the Rockefeller University to tell us how to run this show. So they're running the show anyway. Okay, aren't they? Keep it going.
All of that is the charge to this group, which is going to be co-led by Corey Bargman from Rockefeller University and Bill Newsom from Stanford. And they're going to guide us. And a lot of what NIH does going forward will be very much dependent upon what this group comes up with. They're going to give us initial feedback this summer about what they think we should start on in fiscal year 14. But then we're going to ask them by the summer of 2014 to lay out a much more detailed schedule of what exactly the milestones ought to be.
Right. So Rockefeller University is running the show, is running his show, and he's supposedly the guy running the show. So there you have it. Keep it going.
Does a parts list and a wiring diagram provide a satisfactory description of a brain and maybe even a way to repair it should it break?
One of the most powerful of all the associations is the Social Sciences Research Council. which Rockefeller formed back in, I think, 1904, 1907, something like that. And now it is an enormously powerful organization that has a number. It has something like, I think in 1950, it had 16 different foundations supporting it, all of them Rockefeller connected. So they were pouring massive money into it, and it virtually controlled the entire social sciences research, not just in this country, but all over the world.
There you go. So they're trying to control the social sciences, and which is also biosocial, if you will. They're admittedly eugenicists. So there you go. So you wonder why there might be a eugenicist agenda for every single thing that comes out of Obama's mouth. Because he was appointed by the Brzezinski, who works for Rockefeller, who's, he goes on and on about how Brzezinski is his mentor, okay, and Brzezinski founded the Trinodal Commission, which is founded it with David Rockefeller, okay, and Kissinger. You got Kissinger, who acts like he's known Obama since he's a kid or something like that. Again, out of the same everybody. Okay, Kissinger. I'll play you plenty of clips or give you quotes from Kissinger talking about depopulation, about exterminating black people, about killing. We need to reduce the world population by 1 billion or 2 billion people. Brzezinski says the same thing. He says it's easier to control people, kill them than control them. Those are all out of the same camp, and now everybody who's involved in this stupid brain mapping garbage is a totally 100% linked to eugenicist depopulation murderers, okay? And you wonder what they're trying to do. They're trying to control your thoughts and control your brain in every which way they can. It's a full spectrum dominance, okay? It's chemically, it's socially, it's biologically, it's medically, all these things, okay? And frankly, then they just package it up with a what do they call it, like a silk hat on a pig, and they hand it to you, and you're like, oh, Rocco, thank you, and then you put it, maybe you tell Kim Kardashian to sell it to you, or Beyonce to sell it to you, or you tell Jay-Z to rap about it or something, and then you guys, we'll take it, take it, and then bend over and we'll jam it in you, okay? There you go. Sorry about the crudeness, but this is this goes on, and we're still not done. Let's keep it going.
We teach our students how to learn and really how to become practical working scientists.
That's at Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories promo video, and they're like, we teach them how to learn? What the fuck's that supposed to mean? In other words, we indoctrinate them into what to do, and there's nothing. And then she's like, and how to become, scientists that work within the framework of our bullshit. Okay, that's not a. What do you mean you teach people how to learn? Okay, that's not or whatever. What she's saying is that we tell people what to do. Okay, and that's it. Here's what the science is according to us, and here's what and you just tell people that this is science. There's nobody presents any evidence or any data of any kind ever. Okay, and keep it going on that note.
So there's this enormous mystery waiting to be unlocked. And the BRAIN Initiative will change that by giving scientists the tools they need to get a dynamic picture of the brain in action and better understand how we think and how we learn and how we remember.
Right. There's a liar for you, okay? That has nothing to do with that at all, how we think about it. No, the BRAIN Initiative is disguise a eugenics package, and so we can start coming up with different ways to tell you that your genes are bad, and so we can say you need a forced abortion, or we need to vaccinate your kid, or damage them some more, or you need to be moved to a holding facility, like with you and your wild horse friends, all those type of things. Keep it going on that note. We teach them how to learn. Cold Spring Harbor. Here's some more from Cold Spring Harbor. Here's the president of the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories. Here you go.
For the past 120 years, Cold Spring Harbor has been a leading genetics research center in the United States and in fact throughout the world. And one of the things that I think in the future I'll look back at the time I've been at Cold Spring Harbor and say that Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory has exploited its powerful genetic technologies to understanding disease. I expect that
we've exploited our powerful genetic technologies. There you go. Keep going.
We will have a big impact on cancer therapies. We have already and will continue to have a big impact on understanding neurological disorders.
All right, cancer therapies with no cure, just therapies. Keep it going. That's how these people roll. Keep it going. Then he's gonna talk about neurological problems that they seem to be experts on too.
Particularly cognitive disorders such as autism and schizophrenia and depression.
Okay, so there he's trying to link autism is to schizophrenia and depression, okay, which are certainly more abstract. Autism is a physical damage, okay. It's nothing to do with psychology at all, okay. That's well known, okay. And now that they're going to start talking about autism, and they are, and that's another underlying agenda here is it's seemingly to sort of like confuse people about what is autism and so they're going to keep mixing it in with like, well, that's what we're ramping the brain for because this is more genetic, and then we're gonna figure out what is autism. We know, come on. They know what causes autism. It's vaccines, okay? It's multiple vaccines with metals in them, and aluminum and mercury and these adjuvants that overstimulate the brain and cause damage. Period. Okay, and that's been proven and it's obvious. Okay, but now you see again they're going to try to they're going to give you this slick presentation with people who have lots of money and lots of slickness of capabilities behind them, and they're going to start confusing people about like how, and everybody's going to tell you that they're going to make it go out of the way like, yeah, well, and again when we're talking about brain mapping, and they're going to be like, yeah, but don't forget autism is genetic, and again, because that means that your genes are bad. That means so now we're gonna be able to figure out if you have the bad autism gene, and then you're gonna be like, sorry, you can't have kids. Okay, but you know what the problem is with that? They're still gonna have kids with autism. You're gonna be like, oh, and another thing about genetics and autism, folks. Okay, you can't if it was really genetic. Okay, then how could it go from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 50 in 15 years? Okay, how could that happen? That's not a genetic. If it's genetic, it would take generations for you to see those type of a result. Okay, so that's ridiculous and absurd, and it's and anybody who believes that is a moron. Okay, but now they're going to so these criminal lying murderers are going to keep telling you, now they're going to start tying autism into it all the time, and keep mixing in with schizophrenia and depression, which are psychological issues, okay, and they're nothing to do with brain damage, okay. I have a friend who's a school teacher who teaches autistic kids. He said they unfortunately they for lack of a better terminology, they shit on themselves in the class and they drool on the desk. Some of them, it's horrifying, I know. But and I said, how old are they? He's like 12 years old. Some of them. He said he has a class with kids between 9 and 12 years old. He said none of them can speak. Zero. Okay, it's not psychological. It's not like they're depressed. Okay, they have physical and you'll hear. I could show you. I didn't really bother to put the clip in today, but I could show you doctors, real doctors who said that 100% of every kid who's diagnosed with autism has 100% of them have other major organ abnormalities, okay, because particularly intestinal and gut stuff and brain stuff, okay, and 100% do because the chemicals in these vaccines, which again are owned by or are run by the companies and manufacturers are owned and run by the same people. By Rockefellers, and he controls. I'm going to play a clip for you where they're going to tell you he controls the drug companies. Okay, so it's a full spectrum dominance. They're like dumbing you down. They're they're damaging your children's brains. They're killing your children. They're making it difficult. They're making it so people can't have children. This is sick. Okay, and they're disguising it all in like with these like sexy well, we're mapping the human brain, man. You know, we got a cool Chinese dude here who's like, you know, slick, and he talks about Jennifer Aniston and spaghetti and the African savannah and that and implies that white people's brains are bigger because they evolved more or some shit like that. Okay, and this is all twisted garbage, and these people should be ashamed of their goddamn selves. Okay, now the next clip is this guy James Watson. He was the president or the head of the Cold Spring Harbor labs and credited with the discovering DNA. Okay, this guy just got kicked out, but okay, well, let me play the clip and then I'll tell you about him. I'm going to read a little bit about him. Here you go.
It's an exciting place where people help each other instead of weed each other out.
People help each other instead of weeding each other out, okay? Which is like what he likes to do, weed out undesirables, okay? Now, you want to hear about, let me just give you a quick, this is from the New York Times, because for all my lefty liberal, or call themselves lefty northeastern northeasterners, okay? James D. Watson, this is from the science section of the New York Times, 2007. It says, James D. Watson, the eminent biologist who ignited an uproar last week with remarks about the intelligence of people of African descent, retired today as chancellor of the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory on Long Island. In a statement, he noted at 79 he is overdue to surrender leadership positions at the lab, which he joined as director in 1968, 40 years ago, okay, or 50 years ago almost, okay, and served as president until 2003, but he said the circumstance of his resignation are not those which I could have ever anticipated. Just, oh no, of course not, okay. He won a Nobel Prize in 1962, and the guy's saying that he made remarks about about the intelligence of people from African descent, and he related that to genetics, and then he said he had to retract that, and he said, quote, there is no scientific basis for that such a result, okay, or belief. All right, so but he said it anyway, and that's the guy who was the head of the lab that's already been was the eugenics record office, okay, for 40-something years, and plus, and it was created by eugenicists, run by eugenicists, still run eugenicists, and then until 2003, the guy just got fired, sort of, or left in because he was too much. Even though like I'm sure he was always doing that, and he made some comment about people from African descent are not as intelligent as people of European descent, quote unquote. That's what he said. Okay, that's the guy running the show still. So anybody who thinks that they're still not in that business, I mean, he's there till 2003, and he's like 90 years old now. Okay, so it's not like they weeded him out. Okay, he likes to even use that term. I like to weed people. I like to weed people out, whatever that means. Okay. They're famous eugenicists such as Margaret Sanger. I think she had a quote about useless weeds or something like that, and that was irrelevant. That was relevant to black people or people of African descent. Again, it's everybody involved here is the same. Okay, and it's not even like it's you don't have to dig too deep to find it. James Watson, he's weeding people out. Keep it going.
It's an exciting place where people help each other instead of weed each other out.
Thanks, and that's he's talking about the Cold Spring Harbor Labs. He's like, it's an exciting place, man.
She makes the point that the Rockefeller Foundation created molecular biology with the aim of human engineering and social control, and that his goal was to eliminate people in the world who he felt was unfit for life, and to change the minds and the thinking of people by using molecular biology.
using molecular biology to calling it, and relating it to genetics, and then you say, well, that's how we're going to exterminate undesirables. Okay, and again, this has been going on for a long time, and it's not even being being concealed anymore. It is because people are too distracted to even scratch the surface. Because if you did, this is all right there for you. Like I said, I mean, so Professor Collins. Okay, so here's your boy. Here's our friend Professor Collins again. Okay, again. He's on TV, standing next to Obama. Obama's patting him on the back, saying, "Hey, you did a great job with the other eugenics program and the mapping the human genome, if you will, which is another garbage eugenics program." Okay, and now they're going to go now we're going to do the brain, and we're going to run the same people at you who are working at the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratories and the Rockefeller Foundation.
There's really no other place that I know of that has this combination of fantastic scientists on the campus, but also this convening ability to bring other groups here for some of the best meetings that occur anywhere in the world.
Professor Collins, he's talking about. That was on the Cold Spring Harbor promo video again. He's a star of that video. Okay, keep it going.
John D. Rockefeller Sr. contributed a large amount of money to build the Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory in the early 1900s, which housed the Eugenics Records Office from 1910 to 1944. Rockefeller influence also spread overseas to Germany, where the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Psychiatry and the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Eugenics, Anthropology, and Human Heredity resided. Much of the money used to run these facilities came directly from Rockefeller. These institutes became centers for Nazi eugenics programs during the reign of Adolf Hitler.
Cold Spring Harbor and the Kaiser Wilhelm Institute in Germany were centers for the Nazi eugenics programs during World War II. Okay, and that's funny. They were still running, and they're still doing it today, right in your face, right in your face.
There are 100 million Americans who suffer from diseases that affect the brain. It's costing us $500 billion each year to give health care to those individuals. If we're ever really going to make progress, we have to build this foundation of understanding how the brain works.
Right, it's costing us. That's Collins again. It's costing us $500 billion a year, and who pockets all that money? The people who run the healthcare business, which is guess who? Here we go.
Well, he now has absolute control of all of medical care in the United States, as well as has moved out into the world. He made it international.
Okay, so Rockefeller has control of all the healthcare, and Dr. Blaylock is saying he's pretty much controlling it throughout the world. And maybe I'll take the time real briefly to start to tell you that God forbid anybody who you know or love or care for is diagnosed with any cancer at all. Remember who invented cancer. Remember who's profiting off of cancer. And I will tell you that I have reason to believe that there's no such thing as cancer, okay? And I know that sounds outrageous, okay, but I will, and maybe I'll have to do a whole show on it one day. But again, it's coming from the same exact liars who never present any form of evidence or data or anything, and just say, "Oh, trust me, because I know 10 other whores who agree with me, and who all get paid by the Rockefellers, and the Rockefellers make $500 billion a year on brain damage, according to Mr. Collins, Professor Collins, and you wonder why they're trying to brain damage people." Okay, and there's all kinds of other angles where they get control out of it, which is exactly what they're trying to do anyway. Okay, so there you have it. Keep it going. Here's a clip from Brave New World about they call Henry Ford our Ford. In other words, like a play or a pun on like our Lord. Okay, in Brave New World, Ford is their God. Okay, here you go.
Here before you are sacred teletime plex relics of the sanctified life, thought, and holy works of our Ford, from whose divine inspiration came the ultimate perfection of the endless assembly line, which has given us the ultimate, endless, perfect happiness of more things, for more wants in perfect balance, with more wants for more things.
Right, Henry Ford gave us more things for more wants, and perfect balance for more wants for more things. Beautiful. That's Brave New World. The Ford Foundation, controlled by and the Carnegie Foundation, both controlled out of the Rockefeller Foundation headquarters. Keep it going.
A partnership between public and private. Why shouldn't it be just private? If there's such a tremendous potential return, why isn't the private sector rushing to get ahead of you to do this kind of work?
Well, because, Ray, the turnaround, the time it takes for that return on investment is unpredictable, and it's probably not short. And the private sector, understandably, they have stockholders to answer to, are not going to put hundreds of millions of dollars into something where the return is somewhat uncertain and may not happen for years to come. This is the natural place for the government to invest, just like the Genome Project.
Collins again. He's like, yeah, it's natural for the government invests in the stuff that rips off the public taxpayer money, and they get the taxpayers to pay for their own enslavement. That's that's what it's natural for us to do that. And he's like the guy from PBS, which was actually a decent question, but I guess they just throw it out there, and then they have this guy give you a garbage answer. That's a bullshit answer, okay? But to whatever credit you want to give, what's his name, Ray Suarez on PBS, who, believe me, is a misleader anyway. But in this case, he asked a question. He's like, why wouldn't the private sector just run with it, if it was so profitable? And he's like, well, it's going to take a long time, and they don't, they understandably don't want to take risk. Yeah, but yes, they do. That's what private sector does, is take risk. And entrepreneurial, entrepreneurs take risk. Okay, that's what it's all about. Okay, so that's bullshit. Okay, but what they're really saying is that we want the public to pay for this crap. We want the public to pay for their own enslavement and their own and we're going to just take your money and put it into our eugenics, so you can fund your own eugenics program. Okay, which is used to exterminate you. Okay, and that's what it's for. And Dr. Collins, who's out there whoring for his project, is telling you that right to your face. And again, he's going to tell you about the wonderful marriage between public and private, meaning like, which is called fascism. Okay, and that and you should be, and again, you're conditioned to accept it. Okay, and this is part of your conditioning, slave.
We support labs and universities to help them learn and explore, and we fund grants to help them turn a dream into a reality. And we have a patent system to protect their inventions. And we offer loans to help them turn those inventions into successful businesses. And the investments don't always pay off, but when they do...
Right, when they do, they keep the profits, and when they don't, your slave ass gets stuck for the losses, okay? And that's called fascism, and that's called crony capitalism or crony corporatism or whatever you want to call it. But that's not good for you, okay, or me, okay? That's good for a select few who are rigging the system in their favor and have a bunch of liars whoring for them. And again, while you're doodling with your iPhone and pretending and looking at me like I'm crazy for telling you this. This is beyond crazy, okay? This is ridiculously obvious, okay? And ridiculous that I'm kind of shocked sometimes, and I guess you could hear the frustration that I'm the only person out there even saying anything about. I mean, or even like, this is so obvious, okay? And you don't have to be a genius to figure this out, okay? But I guess when you're watching Justin Bieber Beeble around all the time or whatever he's doing, what can I tell you? What can I tell you? Okay, you're watching American Dancing with the Stars or something, and meanwhile, they're trying to exterminate your ass. Okay, that won't end well for us, and these people doing it right in your stupid face. Okay, keep it going.
By regulating and controlling most of the major foundations, then they could have block grants.
Yeah, let me play another one
There's
first.
no direct product here that anybody would see.
Okay, here's a good one also. Here's Dr. Collins again. He's like, there's no, yeah, he's, well, again, he's gonna glorify the public-private partnership, the fascist partnership, and he's gonna tell you, like, don't worry, there's nothing, we're gonna lose all your money. We're gonna waste your money on this, and just basically we're just gonna hand the taxpayers' money over to a bunch of criminals, and they'll use it for whatever the fuck they want, and not for anything to do with anything productive for you.
There's no direct product here that anybody would see as a reason to invest if you're a stockholder, but it will be something that industry will want to follow closely and build upon. It's that wonderful partnership between public and private emerging here in a new way with a new horizon in front of it.
Yeah, it's that wonderful partnership between public and private. I'm like, who said that? A guy who's in the who's leeching off the public? Thanks, buddy. Jesus.
By regulating and controlling most of the major foundations, then they could have block grants, which they did. They directed their projects together toward a certain type of research. For instance, they were very interested in behaviorism, which is psychological control and human engineering, psychobiology. So by using that mass block of money, the other foundations were just very small and of no consequence. But they train these physicians in the United States by targeting certain institutions. For instance, Harvard, Johns Hopkins, Duke University, University of Wisconsin were targeted to be their institutions, Caltech. And so they filled it with their people, with their agenda, their social planning agenda and social control agenda. And these people eventually became professors as well, or sent their students as professors in the foreign countries. So it's over the period of time since 1901, they've essentially taken over most of the major universities throughout the world through this interlocking directorate. Now, to show how much money these people have, they did something that was even more powerful, and that is they made sure their people became the advisors for the government when the government was giving out money for these things.
Yeah, and the message there is that we got to work cut out for us, folks, to reverse this tide. Okay, but the first part of it is going to be to wake people up to make them understand what the hell's going on. It's not that complicated, but these people are moving right along into their world government totalitarian extermination plan, and it's right in front of your face. Okay, keep it going from there.
But there's nothing like New York. And the academic scene in New York, Columbia, NYU, Rockefeller, Mount Sinai, Einstein, it's just absolutely terrific.
That's Dr. Kandel. He's getting it all sexy. He's like, and he's got these little bit of his New York Jewishy accent. He's like, there's nothing like New York, and the Rockefeller Foundation, University, and Columbia. You know, you guys, we're all just grooving on our nothing like New York Africa eugenics plan. Here we go. Let's keep it going from there.
Big Pharma is spending billions, we know that, to develop treatments for brain disorders. Right. Which companies stand to benefit the most if this money is approved?
Yeah, well, this is basically, at this point, a research initiative, but Obama did not want it to be lost on everyone that there's a business economic element to this as well. He wants this to be about the economy and jobs. So they're hoping that from this basic research initiative, it's going to spawn a lot of keys to new treatments and new initiatives. So some of the companies that are really big in neuroscience right now, Pfizer, Roche, Eli Lilly, they're among the real leaders in neuroscience research. But there's so much we don't know about the brain that a lot of these billions of dollars they have spent have sort of gone to waste.
Right. Don't you feel bad for Pfizer and Eli Lilly? Again, these are Rockefeller-controlled drug companies. I don't want to just say pick on the Rockefellers, but let's face it, you know, they're the leading force behind this thing, like these things. Okay, behind everything seemingly. Then they have a very sophisticated and huge directorate, that's running these operations, and so that was Bloomberg on Bloomberg television, and they're talking about how we're going to subsidize Pfizer and Eli Lilly for to make new drugs for all the good information we're going to get from the new drugs to treat the Jennifer Aniston neurons and the Capellini spaghetti maps, brain maps, and stuff like that, and and so because we have so much good because we have such quality medicine, that we've developed from all these high quality doctors and scientists and stuff like that. We're going to be right. We're going to have a cure for the Jennifer Aniston neuron as soon as we can, as soon as possible, and it's going to be a chemical. It's going to be a pill we'll give you, the anti-Jennifer Aniston neuron pill.
We're here tonight talking about the brain. We could have a conversation about cancer, about Alzheimer's disease, about diabetes, about rare diseases, about a vaccine for HIV/AIDS.
Oh, and you see, there's Collins again. He's like, we're talking about the brain, but we can have all kinds of new drugs that will justify to pump into your children out of this thing. Don't worry about it, man.
He said, let's form the Rockefeller Institute of Medical Research. And so they created this in 1901. And so Rockefeller owned what was called the Drug Trust. That's the major drug manufacturing firms all over the world, Merck, Pharmaceutical, Letterly, all of these drug pharmaceutical companies.
There you go. Rockefeller owned all the major drug companies, and then you wonder why. And they control the Rockefeller University, and the Rockefeller Foundation is funding all the other universities, and you wonder what's going on here, huh? Here's another great clip from Brave New World.
While we remain at the prime metabolic age of 35 to ensure a maximum level of useful consumption until painless death from chemostimulation between the ages of 80 and 90.
Until painless death from chemostimulation. I don't know if that's a joke or not either. It was from Brave New World, but so that's how so Brave New World. That's how they're killing people is with they kill you off with chemo. Isn't that nice?
Today, our scientists are mapping the human brain to unlock the answer.
While we remain at the prime metabolic age of 35 to ensure a maximum level of useful consumption until painless death from chemostimulation between the ages of 80 and 90.
There you go. And so painless death from chemostimulation. That sounds good.
Today, our scientists are mapping the human brain to unlock the answers to Alzheimer's. They're developing drugs to regenerate damaged organs.
Again, they know what the causes of Alzheimer's are and autism, and they're going to try to we know we need to map the human brain to figure that out. Stop putting mercury and aluminum and formaldehyde and albumin in these shots that you're giving people or old people and babies. And you're going to see those things will be the thing of the past. Everybody, they know. Come on. And if you don't know that, you're an idiot, but because you're listening to a bunch of liars tell you that it's your genes, man. And who? Rockefeller? Who's telling you that? From Rockefeller Foundation? And the guy who's the leader, head of the Cold Spring Harbor Labs, who thinks that Europeans are smarter than Africans or whatever. And that's the guy who invented the DNA. Are you kidding me?
I mean, let's be clear. The brain is the most complicated organ in the universe. We've learned a lot.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. The universe. What? That's science again. Here you go. Dr. Collins. This is Dr. Francis Collins again. He's the head of the brain the brain mapping initiative.
A lot about other human organs. We know how the heart pumps and how the kidney does what it does. To a certain degree, we've read the letters of the human genome. But the brain has 100 billion neurons. Each one of those has about 10,000 connections. So that means there's something like 1,000 trillion connections inside your brain and mine, right?
1,000 trillions, a quadrillion, but he's but people choose whatever 1,000 trillion, ooh, that sounds like a lot, man. This is for children almost, not even like a cartoon character. This guy, And this guy doesn't know. He doesn't talk like he knows shit about any science at all.
Right now, and understanding that and how it works when it works well, and what goes wrong in a disease like Alzheimer's or autism or epilepsy or depression or schizophrenia. Those are critical things we need to understand. And
see, Alzheimer's and epilepsy and depression, and autism, he mixes them all in, okay, together, and they're not. You don't mix them all. And he's like, oh, we'll just take your tax money and map the human brain, and then we'll cure it all for you. But then they're going to tell you, well, listen, we can't map the human brain overnight. It's going to take us 25 more years, so. Sorry if you have, we can't cure your autism yet, even though autism has absolutely nothing to do with mapping the human brain at all, okay? And it certainly has nothing to do with a psychological disorder like depression or schizophrenia, but whatever that is, okay? That's and that's not physical anyway, even though they're going to tell you that is too, because you're going to believe everything that these people tell you because you're distracted and you're not paying attention, and it's not going to turn out well for people like that. Dr. Collins, let's keep it going. And we're almost done with it.
It is not going to be an overnight experience to get there.
There you go. You see, it's not going to, so we're going to have to wait for those that get autism cure.
By the time this baby takes its first breath, many of the key connections in its brain will have already been made. And scientists believe the way this rich network of nerves grows could influence the development of conditions in childhood, such as autism.
Oh, you see, scientists believe that. You see, we don't, because they don't really know what's going on. Yeah, I know what's going on. It's from the vaccines, okay? It's not from this garbage. Again, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of it. They keep and people are still letting people vaccinate their children. It's horrifying. Keep it going. Cold Spring Harbor autism again. Cold Spring Harbor lab. They're talking about autism now. Again, they're making it sound like they're going to tell you it's genetic, and again, they have no basis in fact for that at all.
I was hired at Cold Spring Harbor Lab to work on autism, schizophrenia in mouse models of these diseases. So autism and schizophrenia are genetically strong.
Autism and schizophrenia are two different things. One's the schizophrenia is really isn't any definition of it anyway, okay? And autism is a physical disorder, period. It's not psychological. Keep it going. And this guy's hired to do mouse models, whatever. That's because And autism has to do a lot with social skills and communication skills, and so what the hell are you gonna get out of a mouse? So like, what, he doesn't talk anymore or something like that? Again, this is for idiots, okay, and for dummies, and for that doesn't, as far as, so if he's trying to detect autism in mice, then I don't know what kind of fucking scientist this guy is anyway.
Strongly genetically influenced diseases.
Okay, so and he's going to call it genetically influenced disease. Let me play that one more time. Keep it going.
I was hired at Cold Spring Harbor Lab to work on autism, schizophrenia in mouse models of these diseases. So autism and schizophrenia are strongly genetically influenced diseases.
Autism and schizophrenia are strongly genetically influenced. Why? Because you did a mouse model on it, jerk off? Again, sorry, folks. This show's getting me irritated, to say the least. Let's keep it rolling.
7 adults who have a genetic malformation that leaves them without a structure called the corpus callosum, which connects the left and right sides of the brain. The larger and redder circles represent the hubs of the whole brain network, the regions with the greatest number of connections to other regions. This malformation is one of the top genetic causes of autism and was part of the mysterious brain physiology of Kim Peek, the remarkable savant portrayed by Dustin Hoffman in the 1987 movie Rain Man. This is the first time that the connectome of a human brain malformation has been mapped, and it has revealed some of the unique anatomical features behind this genetic cause of autism.
Right, genetic, autism, and they're going to be like, they're going to get you, again, you're like, oh, I saw that, I like that movie Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman, oh, that was funny, or there was this, or there was that, and again, just to keep running you around like a fool, okay? There's not, and he has no basis, in fact, to go, and now he's going to say that it's a brain malformation where your left and right sides of your brain aren't even connected anymore, which is, and I and believe me, I saw a whole bunch of stuff on that, and it was so twisted that I just couldn't even really bother to get into it for this show. But there's all kinds, they're like cutting a monkey's brain in half, like while he's alive, and trying to tell you that he lives, that the monkey lived from it, which is ridiculous to begin with. Taking them all and they're going to be like, you see, that's autism. So in other words, in other words, everybody with autism is born with their brains cut in half. Whatever. It's just so ridiculous, okay? And you think I'm making this up. You think I'm exaggerating. It's just ridiculous. If you want to do some homework on it, you'll see for yourself. It's ridiculous. Okay? That's exactly what they're telling people. And he's going to tell you that it's genetic. From what? How do you know? It's not genetic, okay? It's obvious it's not genetic. People have healthy children. They bring them in to get vaccinated, and then they come out of the doctor's office, and the kids, if he's God forbid not dead, they say that there's visual signs of them having changed right then and there, and that's that. It's been proven. Keep it going.
We're still unable to cure diseases like Alzheimer's or autism.
Yeah, there we go. And Obama's pushing that. Yeah. So we need to start mapping the human genome. That'll cure it.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. And I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12, way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time. But now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. That's what's insane about it.
If we can learn more about the brain, if we can find better ways to sort of decode what's going on in the brain, it's going to become a lot easier to develop drugs. And researchers are going to want to invest in that more, venture capital.
Oh yeah, isn't that great? We'll have more. We can make more drugs. That's a big cash cow. Keep it going.
Are going to want to put more money in that. The hope is that it could make it cheaper and more efficient to study new drugs, and that could start drawing more investment into this area of neuroscience. Okay.
Right, and that's the girl from Bloomberg again. She's like, we need more drugs. That's trying to she thinks that they know that's people get like, oh, we can get more drugs out of this. Good, because Americans love their drugs. Especially they love their drugs. There we go.
Because they found that a very high number of autistic children have spontaneous copy number variations in their genome. That research has coupled with our research on cognitive neuroscience by the newly arrived Anne Churchland, and I think the marrying of what Anne does is going to be a very powerful linking between genetics and neuroscience.
Genetics and neuroscience, they want to link it. That's the president of Cold Spring Harbor, which is the Eugenics lab, but he's like, yeah, we're going to link. And the newly arrived, and they show this young, again, she's probably like 31 years old, maybe, or something like that, and she's like an expert now on neuroscience, and they're going to the newly arrived Ann Kirkland, and he's the president. He's like all excited, but he's like, yeah, she's going to help us link genetics to neuroscience. Again, so they're going to tell you, well, yeah, we checked your kid's gene, you checked your genes, and you can't have kids anymore. Sorry.
But to my mind, the most puzzling thing is still the lack of a neuropathology. If you look at the brains, if you do an autopsy of somebody who has schizophrenia, you can't find a clear and consistent pathology that is indicative of that disorder.
Right, that's because it's not a physical. The schizophrenia is not a physical disorder, and but autism is, but that's why he didn't include autism in that, even though they include schizophrenia with autism and Alzheimer's and all the other ones. In that one they don't, because that doesn't suit them well. Dr. Collins, here you go.
And we would love to be able to take advantage of new technologies that are just now being invented at a rather interesting pace and apply those to really learn the language of the brain, to learn how these things happen at the speed of thought, and then to utilize that to build a new foundation upon which we can build new insights into Alzheimer's disease, into epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, autism, schizophrenia, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, all of these conditions that we know have their basic difficulties residing in the brain, but where our tools for understanding them have been limited.
Again, that's Collins again, mixing autism with PTSD and schizophrenia and depression and autism and trying to say like that, again, that's all hereditary and genetic and again, it's kind of hurtful and sad sometimes to me, because there's people suffering with, whether it's their grandparents or whether it's their kids, their babies, with these drug and chemically induced damages, that their loved ones or the people they love the most of anything, obviously, are damaged by these. By intentionally, frankly, and I'm sure of that, intentionally, by these chemical injections of all kinds, and these people, these devil people, are out there still confusing people and telling you, no, I think it's your genetics, I think it's that, or like, oh, go down, go look that way, go run that way, or confusing them, and at the same time telling them, keep pushing vaccinations on you, and this is which is the cause of that to begin with. So they're going to distract you and divert you from the real cause, which you could put it into immediately. And yet they're going to no, we need your money. You need to pay us to so we can steal some money from you to say we're developing some other bullshit that we're like, that'll go, and give you hope or some false hope in something. And it's just disgusting and terrible. And I wish people would wake up a little bit and call these people out on it, or at least join me in calling them out on it. Please keep it going.
The neurons are healthy, but they're just connected in abnormal ways. And that's a very popular hypothesis about autism.
Very popular hypothesis. It's not a popular hypothesis is a guess, okay? A popular guess, okay? He's admitting that he has absolutely no basis in any science to say that, except that, yeah, that's popular. I mean, it's popular so is, Kim the Kardashians are popular too.
And many other disorders, but we've never had the technologies to see that.
Right, but we don't have any basis in fact for that. But it's popular. It's popular among my jerk-off friends who, with the Jennifer Aniston and the Capellini neurons.
This whole mapping the brain is not about some researcher sitting in a government lab playing around with, test tubes and beakers and high sensors. That there's an economic element to this as well. That it can come up with, new treatments that companies can use to start a business, to make lots of money. It can come up with cures for people. That he's really hoping that this is a stimulus as well as, some great science.
Right, a stimulus, because that's right. So Obama's hoping, according to Bloomberg again, she's like, Obama's hoping this brain mapping thing will be a stimulus. A stimulus is another word for euphemism for stealing our money again. Like all the other stimuluses we had that didn't do shit except for just tap people out, okay, or tap out the value of your dollar through printing stimulus money. Again. We're going down we're already well into a very dark path, and I hope people can wake up and start focusing on what's really going on here. Keep it going. Getting down to the back stretch. It's been kind of a long show for my shows, but I'm coming down the back stretch here on the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. I'm trying to make it clear to you what's going on here with this human mapping garbage and brain mapping garbage, and let's play it from there.
He's a Frankenstein, and they're all alike. It's in their blood. They can't help it. All those scientists, they're all alike. They say they're working for us, but what they really want is to rule the world.
And there you go. Exactly.
Don't be frightened, dear.
Mr. Ratt. Filthy, slimy rat.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Imagine if we could reverse traumatic brain injury or PTSD for our veterans who are coming home. Imagine if someone with a prosthetic limb can now play the piano or throw a baseball as well as anybody else because the wiring from the brain to that prosthetic is direct and triggered by what's already happening in the patient's mind.
He didn't even have the heart to say it, and he had difficulty saying the word prosthetic, which is, I'll cut him some slack on that, but I don't know what that was supposed to, that was some garbage. Anyways, he was like, so yeah, the brain mapping is going to help wiring prosthetics or something like that. That's what he's going to lead you to believe. Again, no, it's not for eugenics. That's crazy. Keep it going.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Khalil. I'm the Deputy Director for Technology and Innovation with the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, and I'm joined by two of the rock stars of science, Arthi Prabhakar, who's the Director of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, and Dr. Francis Collins, who's Director of the National Institutes of Health. And we're here this afternoon to take your questions on Twitter.
Okay, so now we're calling Dr. Collins, who's Mr. Cold Spring Harbor laboratory whore, liar. He's a rock star now of science, okay? And who's with him? The head of DARPA, the Defense Advanced the Defense Advanced now I'm spacing out. Anyway, it's DARPA, the Defense Agency for Advanced Research Projects Agency. Okay, DARPA, and they're and what the hell do they have to do? Why do we need, again, because the defense people are like, well, if we can get anything out of it, if you do any research we can use to make a bomb out of it or something like that, let me know. So, and then she's going to be also like she's a doctor, she's a medical doctor, something like that. There's nothing to do with that at all. But DARPA is funding this, okay? Again, so there's obviously a nefarious military connection there too. Because let's face it, all the big agendas get involved in these things. The pharma, the defense contractors, everybody's draining the American taxpayer for anything they can with some old bunch of garbage, and they get old slick Obama out to sell it to you, and you believe it. Oh no, keep it going.
Well, not everything in the military is blowing people up.
We're interested in tapping into higher brain functions, thoughts, emotions, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay, you go. We're interested in that. He said that that was from the movie Brainstorm. Natalie Wood's last movie, and where they were doing some brain science stuff, and the military guys were like, no, we don't just blow things up. We're good people here at DARPA. Keep it going.
Within DARPA, this is an initiative that we're excited about, but it's really one of a very broad set of activities across a diverse portfolio of interests, and that ranges from a number of things that we do that are much more military unique, but across the technology spectrum, other areas of biologically inspired research, including looking at new approaches to diagnose and then treat infectious disease.
Right. So what that means, that's called bioweapons, right? She's like, we're interested in biology stuff, and we're at DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. So figure that one out for yourself. Yeah, no, thanks. She's she's really thanks, Miss DARPA.
What about military applications?
It's wide open.
Missile guidance, that kind of thing?
Jim, they're going to be able to plug right into the old noodle.
Plug right into the old noodle, and for military applications. There you go.
Well, we're tremendously enthusiastic about your recent breakthrough.
Yes, we've been working on an array system ourselves, but with slow progress.
That's understandable.
Of course, we've been looking at the application from a different point of view.
What point of view is that, Colonel? Blowing people to kingdom come?
And here's a clip from Brave New World.
We have an idea for a new conditioning campaign, sir.
Okay, so when he says, we have an idea for a new conditioning campaign, he holds up a poster. It says, dumb is good. Dumb is good. Okay, so let's keep that going. Just remember that. So dumb is good for you.
We have an idea for a new conditioning campaign, sir. It's a lighthearted approach with slogans like, they say we only use 10% of our brain. That's way too much.
That's what that was like a marketing meeting where they were like where he said we should just come up with a new conditioning campaign called Dumb is Good and say, you're using too much of your brain as it is, dummy.
Really, these gammas, they're hardly brighter than a delta or even epsilons.
Oh no, I'm sure any delta is much brighter than epsilons like those. That's one of the wonderful things about being a gamma. We're not too stupid and we're not too bright. To be a gamma is to be just right.
Here you go.
And another project that you two are working on together aims to do just that in the area of drug discovery and development. So I'm wondering if you can say a little bit about that.
I'm happy to, and it has been great working with DARPA in this space of translation. How do you take basic science discovery and apply all of the bright capabilities that DARPA has in terms of engineering real savvy, smart ideas, and how you could meld that together with biology that NIH knows about. In this case, it's a project to try to develop a biochip that allows you to determine whether a particular promising drug candidate is going to be safe or not in humans without having to use animals, but giving you a data point that's actually more reliable because the biochip is loaded up with human cells. And we're having a really good time working with DARPA on that as a collaboration. And I hope the BRAIN initiative will present many others like this.
Yeah.
Good. So Dr. Collins again, he's like, we're happy. We're like teaming up with DARPA. And she's like, yep. And he's like, we're going to get lots of good stuff out of that. Okay? Lots of good military stuff out of that. Have your tax money for that. Keep it going.
Captain Barty, Mr. Zenbach, Colonel Easterbrook, and Landon Marks.
It's a real pleasure, Dr. Reynolds.
Do I know you?
Yes, Caltech 56.
Oh.
Right, so Dr. Blaylock told you about Caltech was that they're run these Caltech is famously involved with military operations with developing scientific stuff for DARPA and the like of that, and that's still going on today. Keep it going.
Why are you doing this?
Because I'm evil.
You're not evil. You're sick.
Sick?
Yes, from the operation. Just screw your head on a little bit tighter.
He's a spy for the feds.
The feds, as you call it, are here to protect the American public from potentially dangerous research.
Alex, no. No.
I want you to understand, Dr. Reynolds, that my function is not to be a spy. I do have a certain expertise.
Listen, you were a hack at Stanford and a hack at Bell.
He's on your team.
Why?
He is on your team.
Right, we're gonna stick a military guy in there like DARPA, right? That's why they're there, and they're gonna oversee your shoulder, look over your shoulder, just to make sure that if you come up with it, we're gonna protect, because we're protecting the American people, of course. That's our job, right? Now we're gonna get into the bioethics issue as we come down the backstretch of this show. So let me just keep it rolling because I want to get this show, get it through. I don't want any complaints about how it was too long today. So, but let's keep it going. So Amy Gutman, she is the head of the bioethics commission for the United States, and let's see what the press says about that.
As the president mentioned, he's going to be asking his bioethics commission to look at this, but I know that's something that both of you have thought about. Clearly, DARPA is always dealing with really, radical new technologies that raise ethical issues.
Oh yeah, DARPA's very concerned with ethics. The defense people, sure, we don't, it's always ethical. When we kill people, we want to kill them ethically.
And obviously, when you were directing the Human Genome Project, this is something that NHGRI took very seriously as well. So I'm wondering if you can both comment on that.
Well, I totally appreciate the importance of this, and believe me, I think there are going to be a lot of interesting and important questions to address, and I think it's great the President has charged Amy Gutman and the Bioethics Commission to begin that process.
Right. So you see how sheepish Colin sounded on that one. He's like, yeah, I'm sure, I wouldn't want to do anything unethical. That's for sure. And Amy, and this is the person where I was saying that that when I mentioned in the beginning of the show about my Jewish people, I mean, Amy Gutman, come on, Amy, you're on the bioethics. You're the head of the bioethics. Not only that, but she's on the board of the Carnegie Foundation, and I'm like, Amy, you're running the show for a bunch of murdering Jew killers, okay? God forbid. And I don't even like to make it that specific because these people are much more interested in killing a whole bunch of other people. But the Carnegie Foundation is she's on the board of the Carnegie Foundation, and she's running the bioethics commission as well, and she's overseeing DARPA of all people. Oh, thanks.
We find the same expression coming out today with the new term for eugenics. They call it bioethics.
The new term for eugenics they call bioethics. Okay, that's the guy named Alan Watt who's going to tell you that. I'm sure that's the case too. That's a euphemism for eugenics now. It's bioethical. Whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. Again,
we find the same expression coming out today with the new term for eugenics. They call it bioethics.
Oh, beautiful. And here's bioethics rant by the DARPA director.
I always like to distinguish between the two pieces. One is the ethical manner in which we do the research that we directly...
Right, she's very concerned with the ethical manner in the terms that the defense people do research. Oh, yeah.
...sponsor. And I think that's very important for us to continue to do, but it's also quite clear because there are clear laws and regulations that govern that. The much more interesting questions really come as we start imagining where this could go. And there, of course, we don't know what the answers are going to be, but we as a society are going to need to grapple with that, not just the scientific and technical community, but a broader group. And so I think it's terrific to have the President's Commission on Bioethics engaged, and that'll be very helpful to all of us as we go forward.
Yeah, it's good to know that the Eugenics board is overseeing their ethics,
We find the same expression coming out today with the new term for eugenics. They call it bioethics.
Now, it is still up to Congress to approve the money for this project, but it would bring together some of the best minds in the private sector and government, and the President's Bioethics Commission will also weigh in to make sure that this research is all being done in a proper way.
Oh, yeah, we're going to make sure the Eugenics Commission is going to make sure everything's proper. Yeah, proper. Yeah, okay.
I will propose a significant investment by the National Institutes of Health, DARPA, and the National Science Foundation to help get this project off the ground. I'm directing my Bioethics Commission to make sure all of the research is being done in a responsible way, and we're also partnering with the private sector.
We find the same expression coming out today with the new term for eugenics. They call it bioethics, and the bioethicists are saying that those people, the common people, have junk genes. It's another slander on the public, you see, meaning you have all these weird erroneous genes because none of you down through the generations were specifically married up for specific reasons.
Right, married up or developed in test tubes, for that matter, like they do in Brave New World. Keep it going.
On March 9th, 1907, the Indiana State Senate, in a vote of 28-16, made history by being the first jurisdiction in the world to force the sterilization of citizens it deemed unfit. Unfit to exist, unfit to reproduce. Connecticut was soon to follow. By the time Laughlin of the ERO had published his suggestion on how to implement legislation for forced human sterilization, 12 states had already put into place sterilization laws of their own. By 1924, 3,000 socially inadequate people had been sterilized. That same year, based on Laughlin's model, Aubrey E. Strode drafted Virginia's Eugenical Sterilization Act in an attempt to rid the state of defective persons. It passed in Virginia's General Assembly by a landslide.
Okay, so we've had eugenics laws in place in the United States for quite some time. I think that they said that those laws, eugenics laws, actually were only these forced sterilizations and things like that were only done away with in like 1967 or something like that, or you might have to correct me on that one, but we had eugenics laws where they were forced sterilizing people in the United States in the 1900s, continuing on.
In the journal Nature, they report that people with damage to the front of their brain were more likely to harm someone when given a life or death decision. Those with that part of the brain intact were less likely to hurt others. One of the authors concluded part of our moral behavior is grounded into a specific part of our brains. In other words, most of us are wired to do the right thing.
Right. So what that is, that's Katie Couric telling you that, so now we're gonna be able to say, you got the bad, you got the bad gene. You're not wired to do the right thing. Sorry, we're gonna have to sterilize you.
Transylvania nächste! Jeder aussteigen für Transylvania! Transylvania nächste! Jeder aussteigen für Transylvania!
63-year-old Prince Charles has a distant link to Vlad the Impaler, a nobleman from the 15th century who helped to inspire the vampire legend Dracula. Last year, the prince stated in an interview, "Transylvania is in my blood. The genealogy shows I am descendant of Vlad the Impaler, so I do have a bit of a stake in the country." Prince Charles actually owns a house in Transylvania, and he appears in a video used by Romanian authorities to promote the country. The Prince of Wales is certainly not ashamed of his heritage and Romanian roots. He states, "Transylvania has so much to teach us."
Good old so Prince Charles brags that he's from Transylvania, and he's genetically related to Vlad the Impaler, who was supposedly the original Dracula. Isn't that nice? Keep it going. That Transylvania, man.
Pardon me, boy. Is this the Transylvania station?
Yeah, track 29. Oh, can I give you a shine?
No thanks.
These include a Transylvanian count who is working to conserve some of the most ancient of Carpathia's medieval villages, and His Royal Highness Prince Charles, who can trace his ancestry back to Romania's dark and distant past.
The genealogy shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler, you see. So I do have a bit of a stake in the country.
Genealogy, you see, shows that I'm descended from Vlad the Impaler, you see. So I do have a stake in the country. I can't believe that's the way he even talks. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so Prince Charles bragging that he's a descendant of Dracula and he's from Transylvania. Good for him.
Sorry, I don't mean to embarrass you, but I'm a rather brilliant surgeon. Perhaps I could help you with that hump.
What hump?
Okay, and on that note, so we're going down to the backstretch of the show, so we're just about there. So I did this compilation during this debate where there was this guy, Tony Moffspit or something, and Sebastian Sung, and Tony's supposed to be his adversary, so to speak, in the debate, but all he does is argue for Sebastian's side, because what they want to present it to you as a debate, but it's not a debate, because they're going to be like, both of them are going to agree that we need to map the human brain genome, the human brain connectome, okay? And Tony's going to say he doesn't agree, but all he does is keep going back to saying, well, yeah, I agree with Sebastian on that, I agree with Sebastian on that. So anyway, I did a little quick compilation. I'm just going to run it through, and I'm going to wrap up the show. So check it out. So Tony and Sebastian are having a debate at Columbia University on the human genome, human connectome mapping project. Here we go.
And I was glad to hear Sebastian mention neural computation. We actually have a very clear example in front of us, Sebastian's book, in fact, begins with it, which is the worm C. elegans. Sebastian would probably agree that all areas of the mammalian brain have great diversity of cell types. Sebastian is right. Neuroscience is not sympathetic to things that have long vision and long reach and no immediate payoff.
My worthy adversary, Tony Mofshan, is a world leader in the study of neural coding, of sticking electrodes in the brain and trying to understand how the signals of a single neuron encode the properties of a visual stimulus.
And in order to understand the structure, you need to also make measurements of the function, which is in effect what Sebastian was saying a little while ago. And there's a particular point which I'm glad Sebastian mentioned. So I'm glad that Sebastian raised the fact that you can't record activity in the worm well. Let me make a particular example for you because it's one that I'm fond of, and it's one that Sebastian has actually done some very elegant work on.
Have we addressed all of Tony's criticisms yet?
You're asking me? Well, so let me help Sebastian here. Okay. So Sebastian did this very nice job of explaining how connected assemblies of cells by a sort of resonant pattern of activation could encode or recreate the experience of some past event. To be fair, Sebastian offered the connectome as a test of that hypothesis.
Yeah. Sticking an electrode inside a cell to record its activity is a virtuoso feat, as someone like Tony well knows.
I have no arguments with what Sebastian...
You have no arguments with that.
We are both seekers after a particular kind of truth, okay? We each believe that we know something about a path to acquire a truth about a structure that we care about a lot.
We have figured it out. Go back...
So, yeah, let me just step that last one. So he says...
we are both seekers after a particular kind of truth, okay?
We're seekers of a particular kind of truth? What the hell is that supposed to mean? Again, these guys are double-talking, double-speaking clowns, and he's got the last few clips here on the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. I'm going to go through, I'll do a quick summary, and that'll be that. Keep it going.
We each believe that we know something about a path to acquire a truth about a structure that we care about a lot.
Whatever that's supposed to mean. There you go.
We have figured it out. Go back to bed, America. Your government has figured out how it all transpired. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control again.
Here we go, and, all right, so, well, let me...
He's a Frankenstein! And they're all alike! Yeah. It's in their blood. They can't help it. All those scientists, they're all alike. They say they're working for us. But what they really want is to rule the world!
There you go, and, so, happy Father's Day to everybody. Let me wrap this thing up. Okay, so we, we're told that there's this human brain mapping project that's going to take 20 years, and that there's billions and billions of 100 billion neurons to map. In the meantime, every single person connected to it that they present to us is all they talk about is these very, very disturbing racist eugenics based connections, and then they fuel all these different agendas like big pharma on this and then they try to confuse the public about things that are very serious issues to them, like their loved ones with autism or Alzheimer's and things like that. And it's a smokescreen, it's a diversion, it's a deception, and it's a outright eugenics program, all packaged up into a slick mumbo jumbo double speak disguise as called the Human Brain Mapping Initiative, and it's not, okay. And I'm sick of these people who are all trying to and then you have who else funds these things besides the Rockefellers? Even though I picked on them all the show, you got don't forget that there's a Queen of England, there's a Queen of Sweden, there's a Queen of Norway, there's a King in Holland, there's a royal king family in Spain. I don't even know all the rest, but all throughout Europe, they got a bunch of people who genetically think that they're born better than you. And so, of course, they're going to propagate this whole or conditioning program to get you to believe it. And you know what? And it looks like people do, because people are like, oh, I love our queen, or I love, or the queen of, or the princess of Sweden, she's so beautiful, or the king of Holland. I'm like, what's, and you know, and I talk about it with people all the time. I'm like, what's up with your king over there? They're like, oh, he has no power, or the queen of England has no power. I'm like, are you kidding me? She's no power. She calls it my government on TV, and she's got a palace smack dab in the middle of London with gold fucking gates on it. Okay, what are you talking about? Okay, and that's not. And you know what? Why? Because she's got a divine right. She was born into it. Her genetics are better than yours. And Prince Charles is bragging about being from Transylvania, and he's a descendant. He can brag about being descendant of Dracula. You don't give a shit. You're like, oh, but he's our king. He's our prince. He's a prince of me. He rules over me. Anyway, this is a very disturbing, disgusting eugenics program that our government is like throwing at us in the stupid State of the Union address, like it's good for us, and we got enough problems with that, things like that, and we got to get it together, folks, because this is enough already. Okay, this is Max Ratt. I'm going to sign off to you. Have a great Father's Day. Thanks for coming aboard. Thanks for coming, listening to the Max Ratt Deconstruction Zone. I'm sorry this is a little bit longer of a show than it has been lately, but I had a lot to get out there today, and I want to thank you very much for coming aboard. Have a great Father's Day to all you fathers out there. Keep fathering healthy children. Don't vaccinate them, and we don't need you being exterminated genetically either. All the best.
If I don't come back, you tell Mother I love her.
Your mother's dead, Llewellyn.
Well, then I'll tell her myself.